We are 1 week closer to the draft. And at this point, I can feel it. It's here. I get the aura, all the things, the rush that we're going to feel when our team is picking someone. It's going to be awesome. Unfortunately, today, we're talking about the division with the least amount of first-round draft picks. Just two, the AFC South. Now, I'm Emery Cuzzy. This is the Rough Draft Podcast, and we're going to be continuing our 3-round mock draft series. If you haven't yet, go check out all the other divisions. We're going in order by picks. So the Raiders were the number 1 overall pick. So we did the AFC West first. Then we did the Jets and the AFC East. So all those are in order. Go check them out. We're going to continue this until we have all 8 divisions done. And also, if you like this content, please like and subscribe. We had a great turnout with our most recent mock draft that we did with Metro Sports for where we became the GMs of each of the AFC and the NFC. Such a great video, and I really appreciate him for coming and hanging out with me. But let's go on. To remind you of the structure of these videos, we're going to be doing 3-round mock drafts. Now, we're going to be using the 1st and 10 mock draft simulator. There will be no trades allowed. We will analyze each pick based on the board, how the board felt, and our goal is to do different scenarios. So the board is going to fall differently, first off, and then also we're going to do different scenarios of we're going to pick different guys for each spot. If you're just talking about the first round, it's pretty easy to see. Let's talk about Tennessee in that number 4 spot. We're going to take a Jeremiah Love at one point. We might take a right tackle. We might take a Sonny Styles if he's there. We're going to be trying to place different players on this team, an edge, so that you can see this might happen when the NFL draft happens. Because, so that everybody knows, a really good benchmark for me and my colleagues is 8 out of 32 picks in the first round being right in our mock drafts. And that's not very good if you really, really think about it, grand scheme of things, because these teams don't do things that we expect them to do all the time. And there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. We might hear, they're going to go this guy no matter what. And then you're like, you get to draft night, it's like, they didn't do that. They did something completely different, off script that you weren't expecting. So that's what we're going to try to mimic in this situation. The AFC South is the division we're doing. Like I said, they only have 13 picks in the first 3 rounds. That's 3 picks less than we expected. And Jacksonville actually has a comp pick, so they only have 12 picks if they didn't have that. The reason that is because Indy and Jacksonville traded away their first-round draft picks for the Sauce Gardner trade and the Travis Hunter trade this last year. So they're just putting that out there. There's less picks in this one over some of the other videos. And hopefully it'll go faster, right? The AFC South has been one of the tightest races we've seen. Going into the playoffs and things like that, it's always real close. Last year, it was super close. So for multiple seasons, we've seen that. Will someone, kind of take a step forward and make a difference and be the best team by far? Or will it be more of the same? We're going to find that out. Let's do some drafts. We're going to do 3 of these. So let's start it up. I'm going to pull up the screen. And this is the 1st and 10 mock draft simulator. If you've not seen it yet, go check it out. It's super awesome. 1st and 10, like my buddy Metro, like I told you all about, he set this up. They have all kinds of stuff on here. If you look at it, they got free agency trackers. They got the big boards for all the way through 2028. There's players on here that I don't even know, I haven't even talked about. In the simulator, they got 3 years worth of simulators, all kinds of tools, games. Go check it out. Really great website, and they did a great job on it. Now, if you can see here, we did Indy, Jacksonville. They are the ones without the first round picks, and then Houston and Tennessee in the first round. Let's get it going. We're going to do 3 of these, like I said. We're going to start in round 1 and do 3 rounds. And the first pick, obviously, will be the Tennessee Titans. Now, I think the conversation to have is we're going to be doing a bunch of these, like I said, or 3 of these at least. And first pick is going to be probably more traditional, what we have heard, what the percentages look like, what the odds are. So with this first pick, we're going to go with Mr. Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love is the running back room for Tennessee isn't bad by any means, but both of their running backs are actually, these 2 guys here are both 2027 free agents. So you're basically bringing a guy in with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears until next year. And then Jeremiah Love is the only guy in the backfield, and they're probably just added a 1B. So I think it's really possible. Wide receiver is also an option, because if you look at this wide receiver room, they did pay Wan'Dale Robinson. They do have Jameer DK and Alec Aymaner from last year's class. And I don't think Calvin Ridley will be like a long-term standing guy here, but they're probably going to want to add a number 1 option. So it wouldn't be surprising if they went wide receiver here. Right tackle, this offensive line is less understood in my opinion. I think that this offensive line isn't very good, but a lot of people just have this idea that they're fine. Dan Moore's been fine. Peter Skoronski's probably the only guy that will probably still be on the team as a starter in a couple years. JC Latham might not, well, he's more of a question mark. He'll be on the team, but he might move to guard because he has been not very good at tackle. So it's one of those things where I just don't think this offensive line is ready. And that's something I've really harped on because I'm a Raiders fan. We picked Ashton Jeanty last year, and I did not think our offensive line was ready. And then Ashton Jeanty was getting, he got hit behind the line of scrimmage before he even got the ball most of the time. It was not good to watch. I think improving the offensive line is something that I would rather do than take running back, but I understand the talent that Jeremiah Love is. I understood the talent that Ashton Jeanty was. I just was like, hey, let's take Armand Mimbu instead. And obviously that didn't happen. So I think, maybe adding an offensive lineman, definitely adding one in the 2nd round or in the 3rd round, just less tackle options at those points. I think on defense, they did a good job adding John Franklin Meyer and Jermaine Johnson. This is going to be a true 4-2-5, 4-3 because it's Robert Saleh coming in and stuff like that. So you have Cedric Gray, who played really well. He was one of my favorite linebackers coming out in that class. Cody Barton's a good player, but I think they could add a linebacker. I think edge is definitely an option if they wanted like a true pass rushing edge. Now, a lot of people think that's David Bailey. I'm not as high on David Bailey personally, but I also know that if they're going to get one, they could get one in the second or third round and be fine. So just putting that out there that they might not want to do that first overall or in their first pick here. And then secondary, I think they could add a corner for sure. I don't think that's even in question. And I don't see, where is L'Jarius Sneed? Is he on the team? I believe he's on the team, so whatever. I do think they need a corner either way opposite him if he is there, and if he's not there, I missed that news, and I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and keep going. We're going to be picking Jeremiah Love, like I said, and then the next pick we're going to get isn't until 28. This is a very long open draft until then. We're going to be talking about a lot of second rounders, but when it comes to the Houston Texans, I actually thought they did a good job adding players to positions of need. Wyatt Teller, Braden Smith, but at the same time, Braden Smith and Trent Brown are not your long-term right tackle. Just saying. That's just not long-term. Wyatt Teller, probably not your long-term guard. They're both signed to 2-year deals, but I think you could get a guy in here. Ed Ingram actually will start over Evan Brown, in my opinion, so I don't know why he's not starting, but I just think that you could still add an O-lineman, but they did do a good job at least shoring it up a little bit to make you think, okay, they're okay. So, and then wide receiver, Tank Dell will be coming back. So I think I don't know that they're going to go wide receiver with Nico, Jaden, Tank, and Jalen. And then Xavier Hutchinson's actually been pretty good too. So like that whole group is fine. I don't think they're going to go wide receiver. Running back is one of the biggest needs for them. I think David Montgomery's good, but they could probably add like a more shifty back, a DeMont Claiborne or someone like that. To go with him because I just think Woody Marks is not very good, and he's 26. Jahar Jordan's 27. This was a rookie last year, and this is a rookie 2 years ago. Why are you picking 25-year-old at running back? I don't know, but that's just me. So let's go over to the defense. I think interior defensive line, they could add some depth because Sheldon Rankins is good. Togai they've played well. I mean, they get the most out of these players for sure. But I think, right behind them, I would add one guy that could, kind of play with them. Linebacker is fine. I think this defense is just so good. We're not going to be picking defense at the beginning of this draft, that's for sure. We're definitely going to be taking offensive line, running back, help for CJ Stroud, but this is a pretty complete team. This defense is really good. This offensive line is the biggest question mark because they haven't been good for a couple years, and CJ Stroud has to step up and actually play good at the end of the year when it matters. But otherwise, I think this is a pretty good team. Now, if you wanted to add receiver, I don't think it's here, but it depends on how the board falls, in my opinion. Now, you could add another edge rusher because I don't think there's an edge rusher behind these two guys, but they're just so good, they probably just don't need to come off the field, in my opinion. So, for the Texans, let's see. Kane Proctor, if this is a predictive mock, Kane Proctor's probably not here. I think he's going to go in like the 24 is probably my latest thought on him. So if he's here at this point, I think you probably do take him. I'm higher on Caleb Lomu, personally. And the interior offensive line, I actually really like Emmanuel Pregnon. I think he could fit to what they do. Now, this is going to be a team where I have a hard time picking multiple positions when it comes to that first round pick because truly, the offensive line falls off a lot before their second round pick. So if I'm doing predictive, Blake Miller's ready to play now. I don't know that I want to do that, though, because they do have Braden Smith on a 2-year deal. Trent Brown's still there. One of these two guys makes the most sense. I'm going to go with Caden Proctor because I just don't think he'll be here. Moving him to right tackle, having Ariante Ursery plus Caden Proctor is just massive human beings on both sides of your offensive line. So let's go with it. Even knowing I'm not as high on him, I think the NFL is higher on him. All right, let's go to Tennessee again. So we already talked about them a little bit. We took, and I'll show you all, it's a really cool little feature down here to show you your picks so far. But Jeremiah Love, I think going offense is good. I think that here you could go offensive line. It looks like Emmanuel Pregnon went to the Miami Dolphins, so I won't be able to do that. I think edge is option because TJ Parker's still here. I think there's some edge, like explosive pass rush types. I'm higher on Joshua Josephs, and this is showing TJ Parker, Zion Young actually fits what they like to do, and they like that type of player, so he's an option for sure. And I'm a massive Zion Young fan. He's actually 16th on our big board, so that wouldn't be bad. Cassius Howe's fine. They could go wide receiver. Let's go check out the wide receiver board. Yeah, so wide receivers all the way down here. I don't know that I want to do that yet. Chris Bell is actually going to be a guy that we're going to have to talk about, just depending on how he passes his health and what these teams think of him when it comes to health, because he did tear his ACL late in the year. But let's go edge. Let's see. Cassius Howe's interesting. I think in a predicted mock, he would probably go. But I think Zion Young and TJ Parker are both late first rounders. So I'm surprised they're all here at the end of the day. At least one of them, I think, would be gone. Let's go. Zion Young is not your typical pass rusher. They already have a Jermaine Johnson, kind of like. But let's go Cassius Howe. Let's do that and give them just like a upside pass rusher. I think that in the actual draft, you might see some of that. Now, the Texans, they could have, I guess, maybe gotten offensive tackle because they have this early pick. Lomu is still on the board, which is mind-boggling to me. The best players are all positions I don't know that they need. I mean, they could go back up edge in this spot. Interior defensive line, I just think the upside with a Peter Woods is just really good. Christian Miller, is a guy that I'm really high on. And I think, if you're just talking about a guy that will stifle the run, could be an option because, like I said, they have defensive tackles, they have edges, but it's the backups that I want to improve on. And I think Christian Miller might even beat out Tommy Toga. So, Sheldon Rankins, too. Let's see. I went O-line, right? So I went right tackle. I don't want to go wide receiver here because it's a little long. So let's go with either an edge or Peter Woods, or Christian Miller. Let's see. The edge that I would want for this team is probably TJ Parker. If I was just talking about stylistically fits, but Zion Young against the run, coming in and helping out. No, let's just go Christian Miller. Let's just be happy with it. Christian Miller's a good football player, man. He's going to be really good for a team like that. Why is Caleb Lomu on the board? Oh my gosh, figure it out. So let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts. We are going to be taking Caleb Lomu. He will not be here in any of our other mock drafts, but Jalen Travis is probably not my guy that I want to be starting. So that's just my thoughts. He actually played okay coming in last year, but I just don't know that I want him as a starter. So this offensive line could add a right tackle. Tyler Warren did well, but they need to add a third receiver because they had to get rid of Michael Pittman Jr. to make room for Alec Pierce basically on price. So they could go wide receiver. I think there's some wide receivers on the board to look at, but that's probably not going to be this draft, unfortunately, because we're just going to get someone to fall to us, which is always awesome. JT did not play that well last year. Andy got hurt. Latu, I think they need to add an edge most likely. I don't know that it's here. JT actually got picked, I believe, 47th last year, so I'm surprised they have the same pick. Linebacker is definitely an option. They need to add linebacker. And Sauce Gardner's good. I think they could go safety because I just think they could upgrade it. Cam Bynum and John Yates Thomas. I don't even think he's starting. I thought Jonathan Owens was starting. So I think they're going to add possibly a safety. But right now, I think the easiest pick on the board is by far Caleb Lomu. He's going to switch over to right tackle and be the right tackle of the future. I do not know why he's on the board. He's our 14th player, and he's getting picked at 47th. Like, that is, if I'm grading, that's a huge steal, obviously. Now, we're going to go over to the Jacksonville Jaguars, talk about them a little bit because we haven't gotten to yet. Bishal Tootin and Chris Rodriguez Jr., LaQuinn Allen. This room will get a running back in this draft, in my opinion, because I think they could improve it. But if you believe in the hype that Bishal Tootin brings, sure. I think that Chris Johnson's going to get in his workload, and also LaQuinn Allen, because I think LaQuinn Allen's actually a really good football player that's getting not enough buzz. So I think that running back room is scary when you talk about fantasy. The receivers, Brian Thomas, they're trying to get rid of him. They put Travis Hunter on defense. So if you get rid of Brian Thomas at all, or say in the draft here, and you have Travis Hunter on defense, like, you're starting Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington with nobody. So they will be going in at a wide receiver if that is the case. Just putting it out there because it hasn't happened yet. But if it does happen and Brian Thomas isn't on this team, you are really, really short at receiver. And then Brenton Strange was fine. I think they could add like a second tight end. This is a really deep tight end class. It doesn't have to be here. Obviously, I think a fifth or fourth rounder would be good. And then offensive line, I think they could. I mean, Walker Little, I thought was starting. I don't know what happened here, but I think they're fine on the offensive line. Patrick McCarry's never a guy that I want to start necessarily, but at the same time, I wasn't very high on Wyatt Milam, and now I guess I was right because they brought a guy in to start over him. So I think, maybe they could go an interior offensive lineman later on. On defense, they just paid Trayvon Walker. Josh Hines-Allen's really good. Their interior defensive line is good. I think this is a pretty good unit up front. I think linebacker's obviously in need. They lost the linebacker to Carolina, Devin Lloyd, so they could, add a guy in there. I don't think Jack Kaiser's got enough athleticism to start at Sam, that's for sure. So I think, adding another one and helping that group out would be good. Travis Hunter as a starter on the defensive side now, but I still think opposite him, there's a reason they put him on defense. It's because they don't have a corner on the other side. Now, Jordan Lewis is good. Jarian Jones is really good. I think the fact that they have both of them and one of them isn't starting at corner is weird on this board, but I think they could still add to this secondary room and try to make it better. Caleb Rensall's a guy I really like too, so they have some guys back there, but let's go see who we like. Like I said, they wanted to go, interior offensive line, if you wanted to go with the Jennings Dunker, if you thought this was that point, I think Keith Abney's a lot of fun, but he might end up just being a nickel at 5'10", and then you're just adding to that nickel room we just talked about. But wide receiver, if you are going to get rid of Brian Thomas, Chris Brazzell makes some sense. I think Chris Brazzell is really good and being overlooked a little bit. So he could be there. Chris Bell is good. They could both be there. They don't really need, they could get a backup edge, I guess, but yeah, they could go backup edge. So maybe later on, I don't want to do that here. This is tough. They're kind of a tough team to draft for. Biggest need. For this group here, running back I don't think makes that much sense because they have a committee right now. I don't know why that's the literally biggest need. Defensive line, interior, I think you could add somebody. Like I said, though, they actually, and let's look at their defensive line right here. That's the offensive line. They have 2 stars. Bang. Yeah, so Walker Little has to be starting. I don't know why he's not, but and where's their D-line? Oh, that's all of the D linemen. Okay. Yeah, so they got two up there. Eric Armstead's at DN, but he actually plays D tackle for them. But yeah, Mason Smith is fine. So yeah, there could be a backup edge here. And I think if you wanted a backup edge, I think Malachi Lawrence makes some sense because he's pro ready right now. I also really like Derek Moore, but Malachi Lawrence kind of fits the bill of what they like. And he's going to give you a little bit more pass rush use today because he's going to be 25. So let's go with him. I wish there was a linebacker. There might be a linebacker on the board that I'm just completely forgetting about because I just don't see one. Jake Golday's still on the board? Oh, man, that would be a great replacement. Yeah, we're going to go Jake Golday. I don't know why I went around a circle. I feel like Trevor Sycamore trying to make a pick on that one. Okay, then back to Houston. Houston, I think, like we said, they've actually already had two picks. They went Christian Miller and Caden Proctor. Backup edge here could be something we do. Tight end is definitely getting into that point. There might be a really good tight end on the board. Max Clare's still here. We're going to go with Max Clare. Pair him with what they have already in a aging Dalton Schultz, Brevin Jordan, Kate Stover, who these guys just haven't really figured it out in a while. And Dalton Schultz, he's been fine, but if you really want a guy that can improve your offense, I think Max Clare makes a lot of sense. He's actually like our 50th player overall. Now, back to the Tennessee Titans. We went Cassius Howell and Jeremiah Love. I think there's a good chance they go. I mean, they could also go tight end. I mean, wait, no. They brought in Gunnar Helm was playing real good at the end of the year. I think Gunnar Helm's going to be a good football player out of Texas. Now, they're definitely going to go wide receiver in this class. So let's go check out the wide receiver board. Now, talking about what they have already, Calvin Ridley's their like actual route runner. This is their slot gadget guy in Wan'Dale Robinson. Alec is a big guy. Chameer's a big guy that's an athlete. So I'm going to give them someone smaller that will end up taking over the Calvin Ridley role. It's either Skylar Bell or Elijah Surratt, truly, but I like Elijah Surratt more. Skylar Bell is not as high on our board as he is here, so let's go Elijah Surratt. He makes some sense. Back to Houston. Houston already took Max Clare, Christian Miller, Caden Proctor. Maybe, just maybe, there's a guy here that makes some sense. Interior offensive line, I'm not against going for it. I mean, they could say, hey, like, we're not going to keep Jake Andrews after his contract's up. Like, go with a guy like Connor Lew, who's real young and has time to grow. Also tore his ACL, so you won't have to use him this year. He makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, right here. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we did go with the interior, so we want to do that. They could go linebacker, I guess, and just get another guy in this room. And then, like, it's hard. They brought in Reed Blankenship. He's good. Jalen Petrie. Come on. This is such a good secondary. We're not even going to talk about that. Yeah, we're not going to pick a secondary player. But Connor Lew makes some sense. Let's see. What else could we do? We go edge. Let's see what edges are on the board. I do like Derek Moore and Joshua Josephs a lot if they want to just, like, juice. You know, because they already have some juice, but, you know, they could have a guy that's a rotational a down guy. They could move Daniil Hunter in to play, you know, a rush on guards and stuff. They had Joshua Josephs. But let's go Connor Lew. Let's give him someone to back up. Hopefully he'll end up being the long-term starter for them. Now, Indy, I believe, Caleb Lomu at the point where he should never have been on the board. It's all positions, right? Now, like I was saying, they need edge juice. JT Tuimoloau and Latu and Arden Key are basically the only guys. Clemens is fine, but I think edge juice is the trick. I think the linebacker is going to be something they want to do. They had Nick Cross, and I think they liked him. He had a lot of tackles for them. Let's go look at the linebackers. If Kyle Lewis is on the board, I think Kyle Lewis is going earlier than this, first off. And so if he's on the board here, I think they might, you know, try to use him in that role. Just like part safety, box safety, basically, and put him at Sam and play just like a star position in Rome. I think he's such a good player for that, so maybe this is the perfect fit, and let's go for it. Jacksonville again, they went with Jake Golday. I like it a lot. Now, let's go see who the best players are on the board. Joshua Joseph still being here. They could go with a backup edge, I guess. That would not be a bad thing for me, for my thoughts. They went linebacker. They could go Ed to the safety room and this corner room. Truly, they need a cornerback. I wonder if Devin Moore's still on the board. Let's see. Bet he is. Yeah, Devin Moore's still on the board. They could do that. I think Devin Moore would be fun for this team. Joshua Josephs is just still on the board. He would be a lot of fun. They could go Zakee Wheatley and play him. I mean, he would just take over that same role that everybody else is playing on this team. Guard? Is there a guard that makes sense? I like some of the guards that are a lot lower, though. So, I mean, Jalen Farmer's going to go earlier than this. I'm a huge fan of Matt Goldman. He's actually our number one center in this class, in my opinion. Logan Jones is a guy I like. I actually like them more than these guys up here. So, I don't think we're going to be picking a guard at this point. So let's go ahead and go with Devin Moore. Devin Moore is going to, you know, help at that corner position. I'm not that high on their corners right now. It's just, I mean, Travis Hunter, if he decides to play offense and defense at all, like, you're going to have to get another corner to help him with just like that. It's going to take a toll on him. And I think Devin Moore, 6'3", can play a lot of zone coverage. I think they like doing it. Let's put him in there and give him another guy to basically saved Travis Hunter at times. Jacksonville again. Oh, man. Could we go running back now? Because Mike Washington fell a little bit. Let's see. Wide receiver. I mean, if something happens with their wide receiver situation, they're going to need one. I love Ted Hurst. I like Deion Burks too. Ted Hurst is much higher on our board though than 100. I think he's like 60th. Let's see, 69th. Hell yeah. So let's go with Ted Hurst and give him a receiver to add to that room. Parker Washington showed up. Jacoby Myers showed up. They didn't have a lot of success with what actually tied into. Let me see. Michael Trigg. No. Okay. So yeah, let's go with Ted Hurst. Dang, got the number 100 pick too. Okay. So they had a lot of picks that were just all in the third round. What have we done so far? We added Jake Golday, Devin Moore, and Ted Hurst. Interior offensive line is really what I should add. So I'll remember this for our next draft when we do this, and just remember to get an interior offensive lineman on this team. But yeah, they need to upgrade Patrick McCarry. Why Milam wasn't the answer. Didn't expect him to be. I think they will add a running back, but I don't think it's yet. They added a corner, linebacker. Let's go see what edges we have and defensive linemen to just add some depth. I'm a big fan of Deniden Sutton. He's probably about the same size as Josh Hines Allen. I like Anthony Lucas a good amount, but this is a tough little group here. I like Skyler Gill Howard. I like Tim Keenan. Tim Keenan is a space eater. I am not a fan of Dante Corleone being that high. What would they do here? What do they need? What are their types of players? Devin Hamilton. I mean, Mason Smith hasn't figured it out yet. I think they could go with like a big space eater, like a Tim Keenan or a Dante Corleone. Chris McClellan is such a good athlete. He's a guy we have to talk about because of that. And he's got like some of the highest, like the traits wise, he could be the best defensive lineman in the class. He could also be the worst defensive lineman in the class because it's so inconsistent. So I'm going to go Tim Keenan. And that might be a surprise to some people, but I believe that he had an injury and it really showed up this season. And when he was the year before, he was so good. So let's go Tim Keenan. The Houston Texans go Caden Proctor, Christian Miller, and Max Clare and Connor Liu. I like that a lot, actually, because it's really hard to draft for the Texans. They've got so many good players on their team, and they don't really have a ton of holes. Now, Indy, they don't have a ton of picks, but they've got really good value, in my opinion. They went Caleb Lomu and Kyle Lewis. Kyle Lewis is going to go higher than his 94th overall, and Caleb Lomu fell a mile, so definitely think that was good value. Jacksonville Jaguars got Jake Golday, Devin Moore, Ted Hurst, and Tim Keenan. I didn't realize they had 3 third-rounders, so that's where all their picks are, but I think this is a interesting team. It's not my favorite draft, though, I'll be honest. Hopefully next one will get a little bit better for them. And then to remind myself, Jeremiah Love went first for them this time for the Tennessee Titans, Cassius Howell, and then Elijah Surratt. So we're going to have to pick someone other than Jeremiah Love. Let's go with the betting favorite on this one, if he's there. Yeah, David Bailey. So we'll give him an edge. I know that they're going to go edge sooner or later. We gave him an edge last time. Sonny Styles still being on the board here. I think Sonny Styles will also be someone that they talk about. Carnell Tate will be someone they talk about because they want Sonny Styles, Fred Warner-esque. You talk about Robert Saleh, like that would make so much sense in my personal opinion. Now, you're also going to pay them a lot of money if they get picked that early, so is it worth it? I don't know, but I think he's a blue chip player, so I would think it's worth it. Now, Carnell Tate, on the other hand, you're adding another guy to that receiver room. You might not think Carnell Tate's the best option because he's kind of like what you already have, those field stretchers, the Alec Mainers, but Jordan Tyson, maybe. He's just so much farther down because of the injuries, so if they think the injuries are good, you could go there. We're going to go David Bailey because I think they need to go edge rusher at some point, and a lot of people are putting David Bailey here, so we're going to go with that one. And then next, we're going to have the Houston Texans back on the board. Remember, offensive line is their main need. And so they have offensive linemen here. We're actually going to go with the other offensive lineman. I'm going to cheat the system a little bit because I did say we're going to pick different positions for all these guys, but that didn't mean that I'm not going to pick, offensive tackle and then interior offensive line separately. So we're going to go with the interior offensive line. We're going to go with Emmanuel Pregnon to hopefully upgrade this interior offensive line in some way because he's good. He can start right now, in my opinion. Now he will. And I'm kind of in the thought process that Chase Pasantes is going up boards. He might also be an option here because he's a little bit younger. Emmanuel Pregnon would have to play now. And I don't know exactly where he would play right now, over Wyatt Teller or over Ed Ingram or Evan Brown, whoever decides they start over there. But I'm pretty sure Ed Ingram's going to start there. So maybe we do go Chase Pasantes instead of Emmanuel Pregnon. Even though I'm so much higher on Emmanuel Pregnon, they might say, hey, we like the age that Chase Pasantes has. So let's do that. Let's change it up. Let's go Chase Pasantes. Interior offensive lineman, either way. Now, we went David Bailey on that last one with this Tennessee Titans team. They could go in a lot of directions. So interior offensive line or Caleb Lomu's on the board. Hear me out. Maxi Onshur's also on the board. Both of those guys are options because I think it would be best for them to move J.C. Latham to guard. That is what I've always thought, just like they did with Evan Neal, just like they're going to end up having to do with Caden Proctor, because I'm just not in on these Alabama guys that are 350 plus. Doesn't make sense to me. I think J.C. Latham might end up at guard. And then if you took Maxi Honachor and you had J.C. Latham, Maxi Honachor on the right side, I think it makes so much sense. Yeah, we're going to do it because I just like it. And also, let's go look at all the positions. Sorry. Okay, the bank's still on the board and stuff like that, but we went, edge. So we're not going to go edge. We're not going to go corner right here. We're going to take Maxi Honachor to take over the right tackle spot. We're going to move. This is, this could happen. This is how the NFL draft works. So this might happen. So we're going to go Maxi Honachor. We're going to move J.C. Latham to tackle, or to guard, and put Maxi Honachor outside him. Okay. Now the Houston Texans, we went Chase Basantis, interior offensive line. Is there another tackle on the board? No. Finally, Caleb Lomu, still disrespected. Just saying, going all the way to 37, but whatever. Let's go ahead and look at, so we added Chase Basantis. He will be a backup for the interior offensive line currently. Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter backup is an option. I think if you wanted to, you're probably going for juice. Unfortunately, so Zion Young doesn't really make a ton of sense, but I love Zion Young. We're not going to go D-line because we already did that. A lot of people really like R. Mason Thomas. It wouldn't surprise me if a team like this went R. Mason Thomas early. Yeah, let's go R. Mason Thomas. I like Zion Young more. I like all these guys more. I even like Malachi Lawrence more. But R. Mason Thomas is one of the guys that is really being talked about in the NFL circles. So R. Mason Thomas it is. Got a little bit of room. Going back to Indy. Indy's first pick again. Last time Caleb Lomu fell to them. We're not going to go tackle this time because there's just not a tackle on the board that makes any sense. We're going to be going backup edge, or maybe even starter over JT because he's not been good. Linebacker, if a good linebacker fell. Safety, we could add a safety to this room. And then on offense, you could add the third wide receiver spot, which wouldn't surprise me if they did that. So we're going to go wide receiver. We're going to go backup edge, safety, linebacker. Okay. Best players on the board. Jacob Rodriguez is here. I think a lot of people think he's going to go really high. I don't know if 47 high is what I think, but it's possible if we're just like playing some narrative stuff. I don't think AJ Halsey makes sense for this team. Let's see. They play a lot of zone, though. Malachi Lawrence is probably their build and their feels, so he might be a real option here. I like Gabe Jacques a lot more than him, but at the same time, it is what it is. You have a 25-year-old guy that's ready to perform right now, and if you think Daniel Jones is going to come back healthy, why not, right? Why not get a guy that can help you right now? Chris Brazzell is actually, I think my comp to Chris Brazzell is Alec Pierce. They're very similar, so I don't know if I want to do that. Two field stretchers that run very fast 40s, a 4.37 for Chris Brazzell here. Who was their comp, actually? Brandon Cooks. Okay. Well, I mean, sure. Why not? Let's go with Malachi Lawrence and give him somebody that's ready to play now at that spot. Jacksonville. What did we say? I know that safety was one of the ones I liked, and I saw AJ Halsey still on the board. He's going to go higher than I probably have him. Linebacker, we went last time, so we won't do that again. And then guard. If guard is on the board, I don't know who it would be. AJ Halsey's the top guy. Jennings Dunker is such an interesting player that I'm not against taking here. But I'm not nearly 54 is so high for him, in my opinion. But at the same time, you're getting him a couple picks past his ADP on this. You're going to replace Patrick McCarry with Jennings Dunker. I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't do that. But at the same time, this is the NFL draft. They're looking for guys that make sense to them. Josiah Trotter still been on the board. Jake Olde still been on the board. Those are more of my thoughts. AJ Halsey, I think, will go early. So he could definitely end up being Jacksonville's player. But it's okay, so we're going to go Jennings Dunker because on the next draft, I'm going to go with a different position. I think that Jennings Dunker can go here. So, Chase Basantis, R. Mason Thomas to the Texans so far. Jake Olde still on the board. I don't know that they're going to go two defensive players this early when their offense was so bad. But they're not going tackle. Running back is an option. But no, he's gone. Just kidding. Janarian Price was who I was talking about. He went at 50. Okay, so we're not going running back. It's too early for Mike Washington, in my opinion. We went interior offensive line, offensive tackle. There's not really anybody here. Let's go see. The Tiernan's the next one. That's pretty far off from where we're at right now. I don't think they'll do that. Wide receiver, Chris Brazzell's still on the board. I wouldn't be against him. I know that they have Xavier Hutchinson and they have Jaden Higgins, both tall athletes on the outside. Not as fast or as, blazing as like a Chris Brazzell might be, but still, I don't think they're going to do that. Maybe I do go defense. Maybe I do go Jake Olde and just say, hey, go get you another linebacker, my guys, because he's good at football and he can help with this linebacking course. So let's go with Jake Olde. Jake Golday probably replaces EJ Speed, in my opinion. Now, we've gone David Bailey, Maxi Hanachor for Tennessee so far. They went, okay, so they moved, right. We moved J.C. Latham to guard. What do I want to do here? We should go wide receiver, because wide receiver is the top position on the board. And they're actually pretty good players. All three of them. Skylar Bell, Antonio Williams. Okay. What would they do? Which receiver would they want? So Wandale plays slot. They're going to try to replace Calvin Ridley's type, I think. So Elijah Surratt. Did I already do that? Let's go Skylar Bell. He's kind of got the similar build. I do think I've debated over these two guys earlier. So let's go with Skylar Bell. I don't think they go Malachi Fields. He kind of reminds me of Alec anyways. I wonder what his comp is. Alan Lazard. Okay. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of how Alec plays. So I don't think they'll do that twice. So Skylar Bell to Tennessee. Houston here. Max Clara is just such a perfect pick. We can't do it. But he was the perfect pick in the first draft, obviously. Texas, let's see, Chase Basantes, R. Mason Thomas, Jake Golday. They have to go offense, right? They have to. Tight end is such a big need. But let's go look at the running back position, because they could also do that. I think Mike Washington makes some sense. He has that speed. Dave Montgomery's kind of the grinder. I think Mike Washington's also a grinder, but at least he has a little bit of juice. I think Jonah Coleman's going earlier than we're expecting, though. He's too slow. He actually reminds me of more of like a David Montgomery style. So we need some like juice, and that might be Mike Washington. Let me think. Singleton, no, that's too early. Damon Claiborne being 160 is crazy to me. I think he should be a little bit higher. But yeah, let's go Mike Washington. Let's do something different, right? They're going to do it. These teams are going to do it. Someone will, so why not? Indy went Malachi Lawrence, edge. Of course, Joshua Josephs is still on the board, so I can't do that because I already did it. Right tackle, there isn't one, so Jalen Travis is your starting right tackle of the future. We go wide receiver here. I think there's going to be some wide receivers that are on the board that makes sense. No, they're all gone. Deion Burks is a guy that I like. Don't think he's going at 78. I don't think he's going to Indy. Let's see. Outfish. What do I want to do here? They don't need a tight end. We went edge. Could go linebacker. Is there a linebacker? Of course, it's going to be the guy we already picked, Kyle Lewis, so we can't do that. They already have two corners, Travis Ward and Sauce. Safety, I love Jalen Kilgore. No. Genesis Smith is a guy that I'm really high on if he goes to the right team in the right system. And that's such a cop-out, of course. I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean it like that. But, like, he is a really good coverage safety that can basically do anything in coverage that you ask him for. And then if he has to play the run at all, you're wrong. Don't let him do that, because he's going to miss tackles. He does not tackle physically. He's not a football player. He's an athlete right now. And there's a lot of things he can correct. But the athlete that I see is just so good. And so I'm willing to bet on him. But, yeah, tackling, run defense, physicality, all those things are bad. Those are very, very true weaknesses. So I actually see him as like a Kalen Bullock who was lower on. I was like, no, I'm off this guy. But at the same time, Kalen Bullock went to the perfect situation in Houston where they never ask him to play anywhere near the box. And he just gets to play deep. Now, I do still think they're going to go a safety at some point. And Genesis Smith is a guy that I talk about, but I haven't really picked in many of these. So why not go Genesis Smith? Give him a safety. I think he's going to be able to start in this defense. I think he'll be a free, though. I don't know. Cam Bynum, probably more of a coverage safety anyways. See how good their defensive backs are. Sauce, Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore is really good. Cam Bynum is good. But yeah, see, their next best safety is Jonathan Owens, way down here in Juwan. But he might not be the best safety here. BJ Payne I like a lot. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to do it because he's the last safety that makes sense as a coverage guy. Max Clare does go. That would have been fun for Jacksonville. Unfortunate. They need a safety, it says. We went interior offensive line for them to replace Patrick McCarry. Joshua Joseph still being on the board. He really, really talks to me. They also need a safety. They don't need a running back. We got a room. Oof. Oh, Keelan Rutledge is here. Of course he is. Like, of course. Okay, we're going to go Joshua Josephs and give them a backup edge rusher with some juice. Traylon Walker can play 4-eye. Like, he's a big dude. Like 6'5", 272. So if you want to put him in on passing downs and let Walker move in, it's definitely a possibility. They get to go again. Joni Coleman, Bolden Ball, don't think it makes sense. Dominique Orange. Ooh, that's a fun name. Remember, I took a Space Eater last time for them, and it was in the last pick at 100, and it was Tim Keenan. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to get a Space Eater. So why is Kyle Lewis still on the board? Guys. Okay, Kyle Lewis is the answer. He will play over Jack Kaiser for sure. Jack Kaiser can go play middle linebacker for all I care. Yeah, Kyle Lewis is the guy. He's going to be that coverage linebacker you want. All right, one more. I'm not picking Dante Corleone. It's not going to happen. I already picked Joshua Joseph, so no edge here. Wide receiver, I think we took Ted Hurst last time around at this point, but I love Justin Jolie. I also like Jack Andrews. So maybe we go tight end here and give Brenton Strange a running mate. Brenton Strange is kind of a receiving tight end, but they don't really block that much. Quentin Morris, I guess, blocks for them, but yeah, let's go get a tight end. Let's go figure out who we like the most. I like Oscar Delp. I love Sam Roush. Like all these guys, I do like a lot. They're all going to be in a very similar range. Joe Royer, Tanner Koziel, who I'm much higher on than 188. He's like right up outside the top 100 for us. Where's Dallin Bentley? There he is. All those guys are good. So I'm a big fan of Justin Jolie, but I did not love his. Let's go Justin Jolie. It makes some sense. Okay, Houston Texans. Sure up their interior offensive line this time in the first round. Then they go R. Mason Thomas to back up the edge rush duo, Jake Golday and Mike Washington, because they need some juice. And then Indianapolis goes Malachi Lawrence and Genesis Smith, adding to that defense. Jacksonville Jaguars go Jennings Dunker, because they got to replace Patrick McCarry, Joshua Josephs, Kyle Lewis, and Justin Jolie. And then the Tennessee Titans started off with David Bailey, Max Johanshore, and Skylar Bell. I think we're going to run through a lot of situations where they go edge and wide receiver, and then the third pick is some other position that they kind of need, and maybe we built that one where J.C. Latham played guard for us. But okay, so they have gone running back and edge. We're going to go with a different position. Do I want to go wide receiver, or do I want to go tackle, or you could go Spencer Fano and put him a guard too. How do I want to play this? Because we've already taken the positions that we expect. Sonny Styles is an option. This is a team that needs a lot of things, right? So we go Sonny Styles, we go Carnell Tate, Francis Mauigoa, Spencer Fano, depending on who you like more to play guard for you. I don't think they go Mackay. I don't think, okay, how about this? We're going to do it by, Carnell Tate's not getting picked because he does the same things as what they already have. Sonny Styles is a Fred Warner copy. I think he makes some sense. Now, between these two, I'm going to go Spencer Fano because he's our higher player on our board. And he could play guard, and he actually snapped at center a little bit, so they could put him at either spot. So, 5, yeah. Let's go with Spencer Fano. He's got 5 position flexibility, and then that gives you a little bit different look. Now, this one's going to be hard because we went both offensive tackle and interior offensive line. But Akeem Mesidor is on the board. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, so both Caden McDonald and Akeem Mesidor are the number 1 and number 2 players that we're going to talk about. Akeem Mesidor is a 25-year-old ready to play right now. Like enforcer, help you right now. So I think he makes a lot of sense. He also does a really good job of reducing and playing on a guard when it's a pass rushing down. So you could have him in there for that. He's not great against the run. He's just okay. So that's his biggest issue, but you're not expecting him to start. You have Will Anderson, you have Daniil Hunter. Akeem Mesidor makes a ton of sense. Caden McDonald also makes a ton of sense. He's the best run stopper in the class. So if you wanted to just add and say, hey, no one's going to be able to run the ball on us. We've got Sheldon Rankins, a toe guy, and we just got some studs everywhere. You could do that. But I think Akeem Mesidor is the one we're going to go with. Thank God someone fell because I was really nervous. We're going to have to reach on, and we couldn't go off and tackle or into your offensive line. Now, Tennessee Titans, I don't even remember what we did. Sorry. We went Spencer Fano. So they could go with a linebacker. I don't expect CJ Allen to be here every time, but I do like Cody Barton and Cedric Gray, so I don't know that they need to do that. The reason I think they could have gone with the Sonny Styles is because he can basically play any of these positions, and he's a green dot guy, so that's why I liked him. They didn't go edge, so we could go edge here. Zion Young is similar to what they already have, but I like him a lot, man. I like him so much. I mean, literally, he is 16th on our big board. Why not? We're going to pick him for vibes. Zion Young it is. Next up is going to be the Houston Texans again. Now they can go offensive tackle. Maxie Honchor is still on the board. I think I've already done. No, I haven't done Maxie Honchor to Houston. I did him to Tennessee. So we're going to go Maxie Honchor. He makes a ton of sense here. We went Akeem Mesidor. Now we need to go offense because the offensive line is atrocious. That's the worst spot. Help your quarterback out that is already having issues. Okay, so with this team, we went back up. We went right tackle because Caleb Limu fell, and then we went back up edge. So we're going to have to go somewhere else. Let's go see who's on the board. Colton Hood. No. Could go interior defensive line and just up the backups. I mean, Lee Hunter is going to go earlier than he is right here. So let's go with Lee Hunter. I think he makes some sense. He's definitely going earlier than 47 in my opinion, even though I have him at 53 on our big board, but I think he's going earlier than that for sure. Now, Jacksonville, I don't even remember what we did with them. We went interior offensive lineman on one of them, this most recent one, and then the first one, I don't remember off the top of my head, so we're just going to pick. Jake Golday, so we went. That's who we did. So let's go with AJ Halsey. We talked about him a little bit on the last one. I didn't expect him to be here. So AJ Halsey will upgrade this secondary. And then we're going to Houston here. We went Akeem Mesidor, Maxie Honchor. I don't know who's playing, like who to go with if I wanted to go into your offensive line. I think we went Connor Lew on one of them, but this is a little bit early for him. Keelan Rutledge is not going this late. So I almost feel unfair taking him here, but I'm going to, and just giving them another guy that can play on their offensive line, because Keelan Rutledge is not going 89th. He's going to be he's actually been talked about going in the first round. So we're going to go Keelan Rutledge. Okay, next up, Tennessee, when Spencer Fano and Zion Young, they're going to need to go wide receiver. I think this is where we picked wide receiver twice, but Chris Brazzell hasn't been on the board, and I'm a big fan of his. So I also really like Josiah Trotter. That doesn't make sense, though. Who they have on their defense? Yeah, so we're going to go Chris Brazzell. And fighting over Skylar Bell versus those other guys are like last couple of drafts. No, Chris Brazzell's higher on the board by far. Houston, they went 2 offensive linemen. They went an edge. Could do a lot of things. D'Angelo Pons, if they just want a stinging athlete, it's kind of fun. I mean, they don't need secondary players, but why not? They need running back, which we did running back last time, so we can't do that. Could go wide receiver. Could go backup interior, so let's go wide receiver. Could go backup interior, guys. Sam Hecht is a fun player, guys. We went defensive line. They could do that. They might love guys like Dominic Orange. You know, that's similar to what we talked about earlier. Just stop the run, be space eaters. Not as good against the run. Not going to be as productive, but there's so many good players on this team. He doesn't have to be. I don't know. Josiah Trotter's on the board. That just might be. It just kind of feels right. I mean, Josiah Trotter and Azeez Al-Shaair next to each other is a absolute like thump fest coming in. Yeah, we're gonna go with Josiah Trotter because he's my favorite player on the board, and I would pick him. So why don't? Okay, so Lee Hunter went to the Indianapolis Colts. They're not gonna get a tackle in this one. We could look at going back. I mean, Derek Moore right here makes a lot of sense in my opinion. Kind of has similar, JT stuff. He's not a lot two pass rusher. There's no lot two pass rusher in this class. I don't care. Like, there's not. David Bailey's not a lot two pass rusher. But could go Max Clare. Who's their tight end? Oh, no. Just kidding. What am I saying? Okay. Yeah, let's go Derek Moore. He makes some sense here. All right. Jacksonville's going to have 3 picks in this one. Mike Washington we could go with because apparently they need a running back. I don't know that they do. Like I keep saying, I think that room is kind of full. But they need, who did we go with first? AJ Halsey? Okay, so we need interior offensive line. I kind of took all the interior offensive linemen though. They could go DT backups. They could go edge backups. So linebacker. Okay, so those are the positions we're going to look at. We're going to go edge, linebacker, DT, and interior offensive line, wide receiver. Oh, well, they could go Joshua Josephs. We kind of talked about that earlier. Sam Hecht, he'll be a center. If you want to upgrade center, because their center is, he's like silver, I guess. I don't know how Patrick McCarry gets a silver. That's no way, in my opinion, but okay. So let's go ahead and upgrade. Kyle Lewis is on the board. He just makes so much sense. Did I already do that? We keep talking about that. I'm going to go Kyle Lewis, but did I do that already? Probably. Kyle Lewis it is. Oh, look, Jacksonville again. Okay. We went AJ Halsey and Kyle Lewis. They need interior defensive line help behind their current guys. Gerald Jackson kind of reminds me of what they have in Eric Armstead, size-wise. So let's go with Darrell Jackson Jr. Not having to pick him at 100 is good, or an interior defensive lineman at 100 is good. And so we went 3 defensive players. Let's go ahead and get Ted Hurst because he's still on the board. And be very happy with that draft for Jacksonville. Okay, so Houston goes Akeem Mesidor because he fell amazing. Offensive tackle, Max Ionesshore, Keelan Rutledge. Jesus, this is what I like to see. This is the one. They're just getting better and better and better, right? So that's the trick. Indy, Lee Hunter, Derek Moore, adding to that defensive line and trying to beef it up a little bit. And then Jacksonville goes AJ Halsey, Kyle Lewis, and Darrell Jackson Jr. on defense, and then Ted Hurst to finish it out. That was 3. I'm going to stop sharing. That was a good one. I appreciate you hanging out with me. The AFC South is a lot of fun, but when you actually talk about drafting for them, like I love watching them during the year. I like how competitive it is, but drafting for them this year is kind of hard because it's like they don't have any first rounders. That's what a lot of people watch. They don't even watch the second, third round, do day 2. So if you're here though, I'm sure you're watching day 2. So I really appreciate you guys, you draft fanatics, coming and hanging out with me, and hopefully, like and comment on this video if you could. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. But yeah, if you are a fan of one of these teams, tell me what I did right, tell me what I did wrong. I really appreciate you being here with me, and I will see you on the next one.